Hey everyone, Dr. Chem here. Welcome to this Cinematic Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through this today because we're going to master one of the absolute most elegant, powerful techniques in all of chemistry, acid-base neutralization stoichiometry. We're going to figure out exactly how to calculate the precise quantities of acids and bases involved in these neutralization reactions. It's this incredibly cool journey that perfectly blends the visual precision of being in a lab with the really beautiful solid logic of mathematics. So let's jump right in and uncover the magic of volumetric analysis.
So think about this. How exactly do we measure the concentration of an invisible threat, or really just any unseen property of our world? Take the milk sitting in your refrigerator right now. Fresh milk doesn't really have lactic acid, but as bacteria start consuming those milk sugars, they churn out lactic acid. So the older the milk, the more acidic it gets. Or think about the incredibly sharp bite of pickle juice. You obviously can't just stare at these liquids and see their chemical concentration. We need a way to literally force these invisible molecules to reveal themselves to us. And that brings us straight to the fundamental battle happening down at the microscopic level.
All right, welcome to Act 1, the Invisible War. Whenever we are dealing with acids and bases, the entire clash basically boils down to this one core event. Over on one side, we've got the acidic hydrogen ion, H+. And on the other side, the basic hydroxide ion, OH-. Now when these two finally meet, they completely neutralize each other to form a perfectly peaceful, neutral molecule of liquid water. This one-to-one annihilation, that's the whole basis of the chemical calculations we're doing today.
And our ultimate goal in this invisible war? It's reaching a perfect truce. We call this the equivalence point. This is the exact theoretical moment where the moles of hydrogen ions perfectly equal the moles of hydroxide ions. They're totally balanced. There's zero excess acid, zero excess base. Now, if we know exactly how much of a known substance it takes to hit this perfect point, we can mathematically calculate the concentration of our unknown. But here's the catch. Since this point is completely theoretical and totally invisible, how do we actually see it happen in the real world? Well, let's move to Act 2 and set the stage in the lab.
Okay, let's step into the physical lab and get our titration set up. Down in the Erlenmeyer flask, we've got our sample. Let's just say it's an acidic solution, and we have no idea what the concentration is. We've also dropped in a tiny bit of a chemical indicator, which is giving it that yellowish color right now. Up above it, suspended in that long, calibrated glass tube, which is called a burette, is our titrant. The titrant is a standard solution, meaning we know its exact concentration with absolute precision. By just carefully opening that little valve, we can start dripping our known base directly into our unknown acid.
As we start letting the base drip into the flask, look for that temporary flash of color. See it? As a drop of base hits the acid, it momentarily neutralizes the liquid right around it, and the indicator reacts to that localized change in pH. But as soon as you give the flask a good swirl, that color just completely fades back to yellow. Why? Well, because the acid in the flask is still totally winning the war. It's in excess, so it quickly overwhelms those few drops of base. So we just have to keep adding our titrant, drop by careful drop.
The tension totally builds here, until, bam, this exact moment. Just one single, incredibly precise drop of titrant falls from the burette, and suddenly the whole flask turns this beautiful, permanent green color that does not fade away when you swirl it. The acid has finally been defeated. The hydrogen and hydroxide ions are perfectly matched up. This visual change is practically screaming at us to immediately close the valve on the burette. We've reached our destination.
But oh man, you really have to watch out here. Precision is absolutely crucial. If you get impatient and just let that titrant flow way too fast, your flask is going to turn this dark, dark purple. You've totally overshot the mark. You've added way too much base and flooded the entire system with excess hydroxide ions. Your volume measurement? Yeah, it's now completely useless for our calculation. Which means, sadly, you literally have to throw the whole experiment out and start from scratch.
So, that beautiful permanent color change we successfully hit a minute ago, that's what we call the end point. It's the exact point during a titration where we see a sudden change in an observable property. Usually it's a color change from our indicator, or maybe a massive spike on a digital pH meter. I actually like to think of the end point as our visual alarm bell. You know? It's just ringing to tell us to stop the experiment immediately.
Now let's clear up a really common point of confusion. The physical reality of what we see in the lab is the end point, but the mathematical reality we actually want to reach is the equivalence point. The end point is just an observable color change triggered by the specific indicator you picked. But the equivalence point? That's the invisible theoretical moment where the acid perfectly neutralizes the base, based entirely on the stoichiometry of the reaction. A truly perfect titration is one where we pick an indicator whose color change aligns flawlessly with that theoretical equivalence point.
To really wrap our heads around how we align those 2 points, we have to look at the hidden mathematical reality happening inside that flask as the base is added. A titration curve plots the pH of the solution against the volume of base we're adding, and it brilliantly maps out the journey we just took visually. Notice how it's definitely not a straight line? The dynamics of acid-base neutralization are super nonlinear. Understanding this specific curve is quite literally the key to mastering volumetric analysis.
Let's break this curve down a bit. We're starting out with a super low pH, right? Because the flask is full of strong acid. As we slowly drip in the base, the pH does increase, but it's really slow at first. The acid is acting almost like a buffer, just absorbing that base. But then, right as those very last lingering traces of acid are wiped out, boom, we get this rapid, nearly vertical jump in pH. That steep cliff right there? That's where the magic happens. The exact middle of that vertical jump is our equivalence point. Because of that, the ideal chemical indicator has to be chosen so its specific color change happens right along that steep vertical climb.
All right, so we flawlessly executed our titration, we've recorded our exact volume of base used from the burette. Now we enter Act 3, the math. Behold, the master stoichiometry equation. Ma times Va times Na equals Mb times Vb times Nb. This is literally your skeleton key to unlocking that unknown concentration. The M stands for molarity, or concentration. The V is our volume. And that incredibly important little N right there, that's the number of ionizable protons, or hydroxides, per molecule.
Let's kick things off with the easiest scenario, where that N variable is just the number 1. If we're titrating hydrochloric acid, HCl, with sodium hydroxide, NaOH, we've got exactly 1 hydrogen ion and 1 hydroxide ion per molecule. It's just a totally simple 1-to-1 ratio. In this case, the N just drops out of both sides of the equation completely. At the equivalence point, the moles of acid exactly equal the moles of base. Perfectly balanced, nothing tricky about it. But wait, here comes the plot twist. Not all acids are created equal. Let's compare our simple HCl over to sulfuric acid, H2SO4. Sulfuric acid is what we call a polyprotic acid. It actually has 2 ionizable protons. That means our Na equals 2. One single molecule of sulfuric acid needs twice as much sodium hydroxide to be completely neutralized. By using our master equation and just plugging in a 2 for the acid side, the math effortlessly handles these complex ratios without us even having to bother writing out the full balanced chemical equation. It's amazing.
So how do we actually use this to crack a real calculation and play chemical detective? First up, just determine your N values by looking at the chemical formulas of your acid and your base. Second, substitute the 3 known values you already have, which is usually the molarity and volume of your titrant plus the volume of your unknown sample. Third, just double-check that your volume units are exactly the same on both sides. They don't even have to be liters. Milliliters work perfectly fine as long as they match up. Finally, you just use some basic algebra to rearrange the equation and solve for that one remaining unknown molarity.
Welcome to Act 4.
Now you might be sitting there thinking, okay, Dr. Chem, but why does this actually matter outside the chemistry lab? Well, think about pickle processing for a second. Food safety experts will tell you that companies absolutely have to be sure the liquid in a pickle jar is acidic enough to preserve the pickles. Food safety relies entirely on these exact stoichiometric principles we're talking about. If the concentration of acetic acid drops too low, dangerous bacteria can start growing. So these companies are constantly using titrations to calibrate their instruments and guarantee product safety.
And this is exactly why mastering volumetric analysis can literally open up some incredible career doors for you. Food scientists rely heavily on these exact calculations every single day. Remember our example of the aging milk from earlier? They use titration to monitor the precise concentration of lactic acid to determine milk freshness way before it ever hits your grocery store shelves. This isn't just lab work, it's applied chemistry keeping the whole world safe and healthy.
Okay, before we wrap things up today, I've got one final, advanced maneuver to add to your stoichiometric toolkit, the back titration. Because sometimes doing a direct, normal titration just plain doesn't work. Maybe your analyte is a solid that dissolves super slowly, or the reaction itself is incredibly sluggish, or maybe the endpoint is just way too difficult to see clearly. In those tricky scenarios, we don't bother dripping the titrant slowly. Instead, we deliberately flood the entire system. Here's the sheer genius of a back titration. First, we dump a massive, known excess of a standard reagent directly into our unknown sample. We know for a fact it's more than enough to completely destroy the unknown.
Next, we take whatever standard reagent is left over, the excess, and we titrate that to figure out exactly how much is just sitting there. By taking our initial massive amount and subtracting that leftover excess, we figure out exactly how much reacted with our original mystery substance. It's kind of like handing a cashier a $100 bill for a mystery item. By counting the change they hand back to you, you know exactly what the item costs.
Well, we've journeyed all the way from a theoretical microscopic clash of ions to nailing that precise visual endpoint in the lab, and finally to using those masterful math equations to reveal the unseen. You guys now understand the complete cinematic narrative of acid-base neutralization stoichiometry, so I have to ask you, armed with the master equation and the absolute art of volumetric analysis, what invisible chemical mysteries are you going to calculate next? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and definitely keep exploring the fascinating chemistry of our world.